Talk and Shop Network makes no apologies for what you're about to hear. The host might, though. It's the $9 Podcast with Drewski. Because moderating for Pro Wrestling's Good Brothers wasn't enough work. Talking wrestling and more. Weekly on all major podcast networks.
And it's another week in the $9 Podcast. A Talk and Shop Network. Semi-exclusive. I am Drewski. I'm moderator of the Talk and Shop Patreon. Yet to be on the network. You know, it happens. You know, the boys get on. The boys are on vacation. You know, they've been on Japan for a couple of weeks, so you know, schedules are what they are. So you know, it sounds like I'm complaining. I'm not. You know, patience is a virtue, and eventually, you know, the masses will hear this. But until then, it's like everybody that has downloaded this already, been downloading everything since I started going live worldwide. I thank you very much, especially in new countries like Brazil and in England, and of course the US of A. So I realize some of you are hate listening. You know who you are, and you know, I'm not gonna. That's all I'm gonna elaborate on that for now. It's been sort of a special week because AEW is coming off like an amazing Forbidden Door, and it's been, you know, the run of shit. I mean, the run of shows they've been on has been, you know, pay-per-views have been incredible. And Forbidden Door is no exception. But Forbidden Door, you know, there was a bit of an outcry from like the New Japan, the U.S., you know, New Japan stands about representation and here and this and that. And it's like, you know, it's, you know, a whole bunch of griping. But you have to remember, you know, timing wise. You know, the G1's coming up in like 2 weeks after Forbidden Door. So they're not going to risk a lot of the talent that's in the tournament, you know, for a one shot pay-per-view. And, you know, because, you know, they got like a month of grueling shit to go through. Right, and everybody pretty much that's close to 100% as possible. It's understandable. And like going into it, it's like, you know, the whole concept of Forbidden Door, where it's like promotions versus promotions has been carried by Tekla versus Stardom, and it's worked out in spades for Tekla, because, you know, they trusted her with, you know, with the build for her match with Starlight Kid, and she delivered big time. You know, eventually Tony Storm is going to come back, and, you know, and there's Mercedes on the horizon. You know, and Athena. They will, you know, Athena will eventually be a part of all this, and then you have the built-in feud with Queen Amanada, and yeah, she has like no shortage of people coming after her, and it's a really good thing to have. It's much like how many people are going after MJF. It's like all these storylines intertwining, you know, with Kenny, Will Ospreay, Willie sell his soul to the Death Riders to get what he wants. You know, you have the shadow of Hangman lurking in the background. Yeah, you know, Swerve, you know, circling like a shark. And yeah, then you have the return of Switchblade Jay White after a year and a half being out with injuries. You know, with reconstituted Bang Bang Gang, and immediately getting thrown into a thing with the War Dogs, the former War Dogs, like building on past history with Finley and Jay White coming up both coming up in the dojo together in New Japan. It's like 11 years. It's 11 years of history there, and I like that they're not ignoring it like certain companies would ignore past histories, and they're going to build from that because they've been teasing Bullet Club Civil War for years now, and it seems what's about to happen is you're going to get the War Dogs versus War Dogs and Death Riders. Because it's Gabe Kidd's, dual allegiances with the Dogs and the Death Rider. He's the go-between for all this, and we shall see how it plays out in the next couple months. But that's again, Forbidden Door is just nothing but bangers, and you should not be surprised at this point. The only thing you should be surprised about is why WWE feels the need to sacrifice their developmental brand to try and siphon audiences, potential audience from AEW by running like an NXT pay-per-view the same day. It hasn't worked so far, and it still is not working. They put like the Great American Bash on like live TV on free TV, and the ratings were not good at all for it. And there is some talent in NXT. Yeah, there is if they commit to it. So Kendall Gray is basically female Kurt Angle. Which they might really play up, but she's very good. She's very good. It's one of the few talents like you can actually see coming to fitting into AEW in case something happens in the future. But again, that's fantasy booking, which I've been accused of more than one occasion. But hey, it's the sort of thing that fueled the Monday Night Wars. It's like, and all the my GM modes and all that stuff is basically like the TEWs and all the EFED stuff. It's basically, what would it be cool if we do this? It's like playing with action figures, right? It's when you get past the conceit that no wrestling show is going to be as good as what's in your head. No matter how there's always going to be something to nitpick. There's always going to be something a whole lot of Monday morning quarterbacks who've never done the game. Who've never who I've said before in the past about talking about people playing GM mode in like WWE games and thinking they can run a company. And it's herding cats is a good metaphor for it. It's not herding cats on level of like dealing with the Good Brothers on in the Patreon, but it's pretty level. The crowd at San Jose was great. Meltzer was there because of course he was, because he lives in San Jose, and Ospreay and Swerve maybe right now the consensus match of the year, but it's only it's only July 1st, right? We still got All In coming. We still got about 5 months left in the year. That could change. That could change that could change in a week. You never know. It's like a match come out of nowhere. It's much like I've heard good things about the AEW and TNA's Slammiversary pay-per-view about how good some of the matches were. Yeah, but you're not. The way people are leaving that organization and the behind the scenes stuff. If you believe it to be true, I always take it with a grain of salt. Because TNA has more lives than a cockroach. More lives than they're basically a zombie. You can't kill them. You can only hope to outrun them. And it doesn't matter who's in charge. It's hopefully they can turn it around. But then every company has their ups and downs, down periods. TNA seems to have more down periods than most. A lot of it's self-inflicted, but that's not my opinion. That matters, right? I'm just a fan. Seeing things from the outside, and it's like I have no idea. I can only hope that people, the talent that's there is being treated well, and go from there. Because they shut down. It's like it's one less place for wrestlers to work, and that's a damn shame. But will it happen anytime soon? I don't know. So what I do know is like this past Wednesday was something, because AEW did Dynamite and Collision in San Diego at Viejas Arena. They haven't been to Viejas Arena in about 2 years. And the company's changed a little bit since then. It's like, crowd wise, it was about equal to the shows up in Oceanside, about 4,500 people. It's considered like a half arena show. There was a little bit of tarp stuff. It was mostly on the camera side, but it wasn't as bad. Wasn't as egregious as like some shows in the past. But the crowd was hot. The crowd was insanely hot for it. The thing about a dual having Dynamite and Collision is you better have good endurance. Pack a goddamn lunch, because it ended up being like 5+ hours of wrestling with hardly any breaks. And you could see like the endurance. There was the endurance of level of some people. It's like they couldn't make it through all 5. And it's understandable. It's like for some people it's like it's a work night. They gotta go. I think they went like 5 hours because it's summer. It would have been, and kids are out of school. There was a lot of kids at this, which was very encouraging. Very encouraging. A couple of great takeaways from Collision and starting with Dynamite. It's like Mark Briscoe's insane. He is insane in a good way. the match he had with MJF to open up Dynamite, it was a half hour. It would have fit in right home with like a Ring of Honor pay-per-view. Crimson mask for him. MJF wearing white, it should have been a clue, and there was going to be blood involved. Teasing the table, MJF doing the heel move and like doing house cleaning and putting the table back under the ring was very in character. It was very in character. And excuse me. And was the result predictable? Well, yeah, because with the specter of All In coming up, and it's like all the questions surrounding who's facing MJF. Will MJF even have the belt by All In? That's the thing about multiple storylines going convergent. It's like there's like multiple directions they can go, and having Kenny come out and save Mark Briscoe from like getting plastered with the dynamite diamond ring. Was it needed? Well, to further the story between Kenny and MJF, yeah. Yes, it was. Because they would refer back to it in about a couple hours later at the end of the show. It's like MJF giving Kenny same ultimatum that he gave Hangman a couple of years ago about not challenging for the belt if he loses a heavyweight title ever again if he loses the match. And Kenny was moving great. But he's playing up the doubt in his heart. Playing out. He seemed played up. He looked very tired. He looked tired. He looked tired. And he seemed to resign. It seemed like he was trying to convince himself that he was ready. He's ready for like one more run. It's sort of a delusional way. But then again, that's reading into it because you never count out the best bout machine. Never count him out. And it's like the story they're telling with Ospreay being, caught between philosophies, between Mox and the Death Riders and Kenny, and being influenced. Is intriguing. It's like it's one of those long term. It's been a long term program they've been building with like Will being rebuilt as an assassin. Playing up the assassin role, because I think they decided that he needed submissions because he's going to change his he's going to have to change his moveset because of his neck. So, and there's like a struggle there because he still wants to be that high flyer, but he's gotten a more well-rounded game, thanks to Mox and Mox, Claudio, and Pac, and but they're in his head, basically indoctrinating. They're sort of like programming him, like Manchurian Candidate style. And Kenny sort of sees it, and he's been warning him out the whole time. He's trying it, and Will being hard-headed and a bit stubborn. Doesn't see it. Doesn't see it. His main focus is he's got tunnel vision when it comes to Wembley and winning the title. What comes after that, people are already speculating that his first defense will be against Mox if he wins. because Moxley isn't really doing this out of the goodness of his heart. Everybody's expecting like the other shoe to drop sometime after All In, and I don't know. Again, there's like 4 or 5 different. There's like several different ways it can go with this, and that's what makes it very intriguing to me. I mean, it's you know, it's a good problem to have. It's like Kevin Knight. I like what they're doing with Kevin Knight because he's sort of learning that he made it. He's figuring out he made a bad decision joining the Don Callis family because he's getting forced into situations he does not want to be in. Having to deal with Blackheart Leo Rush, like a title match. Or Leo Rush is underrated as hell as a worker. He does a lot of stuff that athletically a lot of guys don't can't do. He's found a character that's fits, even though people are referring to him as like a wrestling golem. And to have Darby Allin come out and immediately challenge and Don Callis being stupid. There's a theme for the theme for the night is Don Callis being stupid. Was Don Callis being stupid, and refusing to have Darby face him because he was quote unquote a criminal. Right? Even though Kevin wanted to end it right then and there, because Don Callis seems to forget that Darby stalked the Death Riders for a year and change. He's got time, he's got patience, and he will do something silly. He will do something silly to him, along the way, and so it's basically being set up as like Darby's like a faction killer. He's being set up. He's being set up as a faction merc, or his job is like to dismantle factions. And considering the upheaval in Don Callis' family already, it's just basically it's like lighting a match. When it happens, it's going to be glorious. It's like after the match of Leo, it's like you could see Kevin Knight basically looking at Don Callis like, "What are you doing?" Right? Character wise, and Don's going, "Trust me, kid. I know what I'm doing." Just blah blah. Don doesn't know what he's doing. There was a theme for Dynamite and Collision. It was one thing that was quite obvious, like for the entire 5+ hours of Collision, Dynamite plus Collision, San Diego hates Don Callis. It was obvious from a couple of years ago. The first time they did Viejas, and when he couldn't get a word in edgewise, he couldn't even cut a promo because of the heat. It was okay. It was 5 hours of that, right? It was a lively, speaking of, the crowd was lively. It was a lively crowd. There was a little bit of like World Cup spillover because the U.S. was playing in Bosnia Herzegovina at the same time, and a little bit, all the heels during the both Dynamite and Collision got serenaded with Colero chants, which is a staple in like CMLL, but don't really hear it much in the U.S. and you have to wonder, wonder if it was edited out or not. But it was loud Colero chants throughout, and more inventive chants for Don. Anytime Don did something, it was that everybody was all over him. There was a couple of occasions where it's like when Dom was not on camera, he was practically holding back a smile because of the reaction. There was a couple parts of the night where he played up big time, where he ran from the desk. He ran from the desk because the chance got too bad. He couldn't stand the chance. Just more heat. Hats off to Don. It's like, what a pro. What a goddamn pro. Well, speaking of pros, like Moxley and Ospreay as a team, yeah, yeah, it's if this tag team happened in like WWE, the first question out of your mind would be, when are they turning on each other? How long will this last? Right? And the thing with AEW, it's sort of a trope that AEW doesn't really do that much of, but it's going to be a short term thing between those two. It's just to set up like tension going forward, later on with the aftermath of All In, and they face like Blake Christian and Lee Johnson and the swirl with Jay Lethal at ringside, and Jay trying to interject in the match and getting T-bone suplexed by Marina Shafir was what was one of the biggest pops of the night. Yeah, the funny thing about that, it's like when I had got to the arena early, I'm sitting in the VIP line and going in, and car pulls up. Out comes Roddy Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, and Marina. Marina comes up to me, asking me questions like I was a member of the arena staff, asking if she needed credentials to get in. I tried not to smile about it because it's sort of at one time I did work at that arena about 6 years, about 20 years ago, and it took me back a bit, and I had to politely tell her, you better believe I was polite to her. I told her, oh, no, I'm sorry, this is the VIP line, and I have to. I don't really actually work here. And she's like, oh, okay, no problem. So, real nice. And sure, it's a bit of an aside, but hey, it's one of those interactions where it's like, okay, it's real, that's really cool to see. I should, before, another side note, doing the VIP this time was interesting. Let's see. Last time I did the VIP, got the swag bag and all that showing this on video for audio, people listen on audio, so you can check it out on YouTube later. It's the bag that came with it, and compared to like the past couple, it wasn't that much like in terms of like swag stuff, but it's interesting stuff. It's like this mini banner for Forbidden Door, which is real. Actually, I kind of wish the AEW shop sold this size. Sold this size banner because it's like about 12 by 18. It's like about half the size. It's very cool, right? And let's see what else. You got the hat, the All Elite hat. I got a couple of them now. It's cool. Actual Young Bucks wallet. How it took them this long to have to realize Young Bucks wallet would be the thing is it's sort of an injustice. It's sort of like, considering how much of marketers and the Bucks have been throughout the years. I'm surprised they hadn't jumped on it sooner. Um, and also, for some reason, it was a Mox fork. It says, it's a fake fork, right? It's like a two-piece thing. It says 0 forks given on it. It's one of those things like, okay, that's a nice little knickknack, but it's one of it's one of those things that's like, it's one of those things where like Luke Gallows would like go nuts on, sort of thing Luke Gallows would appreciate, because he is the Carney master. Man used to sell cuckoo clocks at sell cuckoo clocks at the merch table way back in the day, way back during the New Japan days. And he would appreciate it a lot. It wasn't much in terms of that, but it's like VIP meet and greet, which was actually kind of stacked. It's like it started out with like Evil Uno and Toa Leona, and which was you find out that Toa actually went to San Diego State, so it was like a homecoming for him. He was real excited to be there, be there on campus again, and real good guy, Toa. And then after that was Lee Moriarty. Lee's an impressive kid. He's talking about his upcoming art installation in a couple months. He's doing like an art show at Tekla back in New York, and which will be very interesting, very cool to see. It's nice seeing wrestlers like branch out and like do stuff that really appeals to them, and real personable guy, right? But then, the highlight though was like was Brian Cage and Jake Doyle. It was Jake Doyle's first. It was his first VIP. He should be regular going on, because what a great guy. Humble as hell. Very self-effacing, but both him and Brian. I've met Brian a couple times, but back in the bar wrestling days, Brian's always been a great guy. Right? He's got a few like, it's been like 9 years since the last time I saw him. Right? And he's about the same size as always. But Brian's a good guy. But the main topic of conversation was what the hell Brian was wearing on his feet for this meet and greet, which was ridiculous and ridiculously on brand for him, because he was wearing a pair of like custom made Crocs in Wolverine colors with like fake adamantium claws coming out of the top of it. And if you saw him in person, you just 99% of the general population would not even wear these. But for some reason, Brian pulls it off. He's such a, he talked about it during the meet and greet. It's like he's such a fanboy. He hates Crocs with a passion, but he had to get them because it was Wolverine. He's so into, he's a fanatic when it comes to Logan. But the whole experience, if you've never done a VIP experience, go, because you learn some stuff. You get photo ops and everything, and you get like a $20 discount on a $20 voucher for food. This was the first like VIP that they did where they ran out of vouchers because there was like about 80, about 75 people for the VIP, which is it's a good thing. It's a good thing for them. To run out of vouchers. It's it is a good thing. It tells them they're on the right track. And but yeah, Collision, 4 matches. It's like the survival of the fittest match. My first time seeing Micah, the Stardom girl. She was impressive. It's like yeah, Harley Cameron being Sting dumb should be a thing. Getting she was very, very, very naive in the match, basically trusting Persephone. Persephone was the MVP of that match. She would systematically do alliances throughout the match, and then betray. Go for the quick pin. Any sign of weakness. It's like a great thing. It's like Hikaru Shida winning was the right call, because she needs a proper run with a title. Because it seems the last couple times she did it, the first time she had the title was during the pandemic. And the second time she did it was when she got hurt, I believe, and she's low key one of their top stars. Like, will she hold on as long as until Tony Storm comes back, or Athena gets called up to take it from her? We'll see. But the women's division's in a good place right now. You still have Mercedes. You have big matches coming. It's like the rumors of further involvement of Stardom and AEW is only going to be a great thing going forward for the women's division. It's like it's basically what Kenny wanted from year one. The only thing that the main stumbling block was Rossi, and now that Rossi's not in the picture, it's like they're actually doing business together. Especially that Stardom is not really under the control of New Japan anymore, apparently. So we shall see what goes on, going forward. The next year or so, it's like, will we see AEW talent going to Stardom? It's like doing exchange programs. It would not hurt at all. Reps are a thing. I mean, it can only help the American talent, big time. Then there was a little bit of a break. You had Jay White's return. Jay is over in San Diego. What a promo! He had a shit-eating grin on his face during the commercial breaks for after his promo, because he was stoked at the reaction. That plays into what goes on later. It's Kenny's decision to take MJF's offer, leading to a brawl, decent enough brawl, and Kenny mulling, talking like he's going to retire if he's going to retire if he doesn't win, or the hints of it. It's like the tone. It's like people are going, no. But you never know. It's good to have a seed of doubt planted. So it's not as clear cut of a decision going forward. Now we get to Collision, and Collision arguably blew Dynamite out of the water in terms of match quality. I mean, when you lead off Collision with Pac and Claudio as a tag team against Shingo Takagi and Drilla Maloney. You know, good God. That would not have looked out of place on a New Japan card. They went at it, and Drilla impressed the hell out of me. Why are they keeping him separate from the Dogs? Because he is Dogs affiliated. It's kind of confusing. But you know, I'm just. I think they want to keep him, and I'm not sure if they want to, do a dual contract thing like they did with, like they have with Gabe Kidd. But Drilla is an impressive talent. You know, Claudio is still Claudio. Pac is still Pac. And you know, and Shingo is Shingo, still Shingo. It got very strong style halfway through, which pleased me to no end. And more of this, por favor. They sort of tease like Shingo and Claudio going one-on-one in the future. I wouldn't not be opposed to that at all. The only reason they did that is because Daniel Garcia came out and sort of helped the Death Riders win. Which in terms of the whole alignment thing with the Death Riders, basically Death Riders aren't heel or babyface. They're like they are in betweeners. That's basically it's us versus everyone. That's their whole thing, and it doesn't matter who you are. That they'll take on anyone, and that it showed, and that will show later on in the night. It's like Andrade versus Brian Cage could have headlined a pay-per-view. It was as well. Andrade is on fire right now, and Brian Cage has like momentum going right now. With his because he his movie appearance in the Spielberg movie, for crying out loud, and him coming back from injury in even more ridiculous shape, getting his shit in as he does, and the whole chaos with Andrade versus Don Callis family there, it's just perfect. And Andrade's back elbow is a thing back elbow is a thing of beauty. It's like arguably Jericho wishes he had a back elbow as good, but Andrade's going to need help though. He can't do it alone against the Don Callis family. Well, he make a call to some tranquilo friends of his, perhaps. One of them like El Toro Blanco, perhaps. That would be something. Again, something to look forward to in the future, because Andrade is going to be a major player in the future. It's like there's teases of him against him challenging at Arena Mexico in a couple of weeks when AEW's there for because AEW is doing Grand Slam Mexico in August, and scuttlebutt is that Andrade will be challenging for the belt. It's very again, it's one of those things. It's a good problem to have when you have about at least 15 people that can conceivably win the title, and there wouldn't be a drop off, and no one would question it. It's federations, promotions dream of that kind of depth, and so I know talk about Meltzer every once in a while. And, he's right. It's basically he's right in this instance that they're mid '96 to 2000 WCW is the only comparison to the depth of talent that's on the AEW roster, and they keep adding. They keep adding talent, and but unlike WCW back in the day, they're actually using everyone. Now, are they using everyone the way a lot of the IWC wants? No, of course not. It can never be enough for people. You just sit back and enjoy. Just sit back and watch. It's like, you know, you can't have everybody, everybody at once be a champion, right? And there's roles to play. Um, you know, having Thunder Rosa and Mina Shirakawa, as a team was interesting because that Wednesday happened to be Thunder Rosa Day in San Diego. Because Thunder attended high school in San Diego at Montgomery High School, which is the same high school that Rey Mysterio went to. So you could, the Graveyards of Tijuana thing was not moniker is not a made up thing. She pretty much same path that Ray did. So and she does a lot of work in the community, which is well deserved. They look decent together, but let's see where it goes from there. It's like, will they set them up against Divine Dominion in the future? Probably. It'll be, like I said, the women's division is something to keep an eye on in the future because the depth there is starting to rival like some of the more prevalent, starting to like rival like Shimmer in terms of like the amount of talent that they have. That are ready and that have all the experience in the world. You had a Bang Bang Gang first match back with Jay with one Adam Copeland, being inserted as the fourth in like a 4-on-4 match against Shane Taylor Promotions. That was a fun little match. It's like they're building something up where it's like where a Christian does not trust Jay White. No one should trust Jay White because Jay White historically has only been out for one person, and that's Jay White. They cut he cut a promo calling Dave Finlay like a nepo baby, which went over well with the crowd, but in more than one way because the Guns you could consider the Guns to be nepo babies, and the Guns reacted obliviously. It's like, but the crowd was like, hey, wait a minute. And there's just a couple things, there's a couple instances during that promo where it's like he's doing the finger gun thing like the Bang Bang Gang, but Jay has this look on his face like, am I really doing this? Or it's like, it's like you could see the wheels turning. It's like Jay's going to do something. Because it's Jay's character. It's always been Jay's character. It's like you think everybody thinks MJF's like MJF's a bastard. No. Jay White. Jay White was. It's just as bad. People forget. Right now they're just glad he's back, but eventually he's gonna do something. He's gonna remind people why he's a switchblade, and people won't be happy. He had like a match with the Demand and Sonico, Chris Nasty, whoever that is, and Jordan Oasis, and it's one of those things where it's like accidents happen during the match. It's like Toa Leono did a thing on the outside where he did a shoulder block, but they cracked heads with I think Jordan Oliver, and they both got busted open bad. And let's just say an angry Samoan is a dangerous Samoan, and you could see Toa Leona basically. A switch. Saw blood, flipped the switch, and you started like laying shit in. And, actually punched one of them after the match, and it seemed to be anger. And I don't know if there anything will come from that. It's like heat of the moment thing. But it's rare to see stuff like that happen. But hey, accidents happen. It's like and go they have like a casino gauntlet for women coming up, and they had matches for like the first two spots in the casino gauntlet on Collision. It's like the first match was like Athena. It was good to see Athena on Collision. Again, it's against Rena from Stardom. If you don't know about Rena from Stardom, it's like Rena is only 19 years old. She started wrestling when she was 11, as in the true Joshi way. So she's got like 8 years of experience, and it shows, right? She has over several hundred matches. She has over 500 matches under her belt, and most of the AEW women's roster doesn't. It's like it's one thing I keep bringing up. I've brought up in the past. It's like the Joshis are the main reason the Joshis are better and better than your favorites. It's because reps. Thousands of matches. It's like more matches you have, the better you get. It becomes more smooth. It becomes smoother, and it was a fun, hard-hitting match. Athena won with the O-face, and she moves on. It'd be interesting to see, who else is in this gauntlet. Could there be a debut in the gauntlet? Don't know. Might be. It's like that. Then they had one of those. They had a wild 6-man. You didn't. It's one of those 6-mans that you don't realize you needed to see until it's announced. Or it was like it was the Rascals. Rascals have been doing great work, like AEW, against a dream team of Speedball, Mike Bailey, Bandito, and Mexican legend known as Mystico. Let's just say Mystico is so over right now, and he was treated with reverence throughout the match. Everything he did was with everything he did, and it's like the Rascals had a good showing against everybody, and it's like great spots. The right team won. It's interesting. It would be Bandito with the 21 plex for the win, and that's an interesting trios combination if they want to run with it. Yeah. But and they announced that Shibata wants Bandito's Ring of Honor title. Ring of Honor championship. It's like, yes, please. That's gonna be it's one of those matches where it's like, oh, I didn't know I wanted that till you just announced it. It's beautiful. It's insane. Again, the depth of the company. You just pull out random matches that like are just it's like fantasy booking in the best way. Because who wins in a match like that? The fans, as always. Then you had like a match with like Roosh against Jordan Cruz. Uh, Roosh was not getting paid by the hour. You, you, the definition of a squash match, big time. I would think it'd say it was about 2 minutes plus, 2.5 minutes plus. And yeah, he did like a post match promo that I heard was edited out, which is a shame because Roosh is over with the crowd. They have to have something brewing for him. He's getting 2 good reactions right now to just have him just keep crushing people and not give him a payoff. It'd be interesting to see where if he's like a championship contender soon. But you could say that about half the roster, though. It's a great problem to have. The Maya World against Julia Hart. I always love Julia's theme because it's a top 5 AEW theme. And it seems like she's finally finding her footing after doing so well with like House of Black. Not really getting the opportunities to wrestle as much in Triangle of Madness, but now she's getting smoother in what she's doing, and it's like Maya World. There's a little bit of nerves with her, because she's getting put in a situation where it's like, is she ready? It's sort of like a sink or swim thing in a way, but not really a sink or swim thing. They're trusting her. They're giving her opportunity to see what she does, and she's for the most part she's doing really well. There were certain parts of the match that were a little slow, a little clunky, but then again, it's okay. It happens. It's kind of more realistic. It kind of makes it more realistic if it's a little rough in terms of like not seamlessly going into moves like say certain other matches on the card, but make it look like a fight. It's one of those things where it's like more time, she'll get on with it, and but for me the match of the night was Kyle Fletcher and El Phantasmo. El Phantasmo has been one of the more underrated New Japan guys for years. And he's appeared in AEW in the past. And we did like a 6-man, well-received 6-man with the Bucks, where he could have might as well have just called him ELP Jackson, because he fit in with the Bucks like fit like a glove basically. But this is like the first time ELP and Kyle have faced each other in about 10 years. No, actually 8 years, because first time they faced him was like Kyle was like 20. It was just coming up, and Don Callis on commentary as usual, right? But right now it's like Kyle Fletcher's finishing stretch. He has his trademark finishing stretches for his matches is on point. Right? There was a couple of points where he had some awkward landings. And it looked like he tweaked his knee at one point. But it came out later he was dehydrated, and he could have been cramping up. But the match went like about 15-20 minutes, and it was like a lot of back and forth, a lot of near falls. ELP may have may have gotten himself a two-way contract as a part of it. Yeah, due to his showing against Kyle. At least I hope so, because he deserved it. Because yeah, after his cancer scare, like about from a couple of years ago, and you know, he's put in the work. He's really good. He's real good. He's got a great gimmick for the kids with the sunglasses. A la Bret Hart, and he's charismatic, real charismatic. Uh, him and Kyle work really well together. I wouldn't be, I wouldn't mind like them running that back in the future for something. Um, then the night ended with Don getting in the ring like an idiot, trying to cut a promo about Takeshita getting drowned out for like about 2 minutes and changed by the San Diego crowd. Could not hear him at all over a live mic. That's how loud it was. Eventually, he got his point across. It's like, talking about betrayal and everything, and then like a white knight, Cinnabon Prince comes out. Uh, Takeshita has money. 3 contract Takeshita. Rich as hell. Takeshita it's living the life, right? 3 contracts, married to Yuka Sakazaki, and has access to Cinnabon every time he's in the U.S. He's living a life. And he can go to DDT all the time, and hang out with Chris Brooks and Mao, and just be a big goofball when he wants to be. And all in all, the whole night was great. But then 5 hours of wrestling. Never let it be said that you don't get your money's worth at an AEW show at all. Not at all. Speaking of getting your money's worth, bear with me. Speaking of getting your money's worth, you can go to oldglory.com. Use promo code Drewski, get 15% off your order. And because they have like classic shirts, classic. They have classic shirts, classic. For almost every fandom there is. Prices are kind of are decent, are reasonable. And if you want to, go ahead and speaking of, going to call it a week. Then it's like you want. As always, this show is available worldwide on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, Pandora, and iHeartRadio. And if you want to support the boy, support the old man in his AARP period. Basically, $9podcast.com. How can one show have so much merch? Check out the site and find out. And email me, if you feel like it, at the $9podcast at yahoo.com. Check out everybody on the Talk Shop Network at the patreon.com/talkandshop. Check out the video versions of these episodes on the youtube.com/$9podcast. The video will be going up about the same time as the audio. And the thing about the video ones are commercial free, so it's like, if you're not a fan of not a fan of the plugs. I understand. So I'll go ahead and get the hell out of here. And I'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the $9 Podcast. Support the show by going to the $9 Podcast or going to patreon.com/talkinshop to dive headlong into the insanity. See you next week.